Welcome to the show your parents, the PTA and the asleep don't want you to hear, the Helios blog. Today, HasanAbi clashes with a pro-Israeli journalist. It's going to be just the drama.
The reason she's alone is because she's difficult.
Women are not accepting the bare minimum.
Women fuck men they respect.
All the women who say things like, I'm strong, independent, I don't need no man, like, y'all impress me.
Women just gaslight each other and say what they want to hear.
Not only performative, but public demonstration of support for terrorism.
Absolutely not. I don't think that, I mean, all protests are technically performative, obviously, but there's a very clear-cut goal for the group of students at Columbia and many other universities. I was in Melbourne not that long ago, and I attended a Palestinian protest there, a Palestinian rally there, and the students there were also demanding the exact same thing, that they divest, their colleges divest from a lot of the companies that are aligned with the state of Israel, a lot of the companies that are directly involved in operations in the West Bank, a lot of the companies that are playing a role in the regular maintenance of the apartheid regime of Israel and helping Israel conduct
Apartheid.
an ethnic cleansing campaign. That is the ultimate goal. That is why they're trying to very clearly cause a little bit of a disruption and engage in.
But are you comfortable? Okay, but are you comfortable,
the most American
Hassan,
thing you can do?
Are you comfortable
civil
with the
disobedience.
ones who are seen chanting support for Hamas or chanting about intifada?
I am perfectly comfortable with people chanting about the intifada. As far as the Hamas thing goes, any kind of protest is always going to have a litany of random people, but ultimately it doesn't really matter. You have to look at the actual tangible goals that the protest movement is stating they're interested in. And I think that those goals, and I think you will agree with me on this, Piers, I think those goals are pretty valid overall. I think that they want to, one, recenter the attention to the genocide that is ongoing in Gaza, and two, demand that their tuition dollars do not go to operations in Israel. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a campus. There's going to be a sister campus that is being built in Tel Aviv right now for Columbia University. This means that Columbia University, which once housed the likes of the late great Edward Said and many others, and that currently has many Palestinian students who pay tuition for projects such as this one, will not be able to go to that sister campus. I find that abhorrent, but it's everyday existence
All right,
in Israel.
let me bring in Emily. You've been listening to all this. Your response?
With all due respect, Hassan, why do you feel that Columbia, or any college for that matter, owes you to divest from Israel? Why do you think your opinion is correct? Because so far, I heard the classic buzzwords: apartheid, discriminatory, ethnic cleansing, and genocide, which is funny because it's all the exact opposite. So if I may ask you, what about Israel is apartheid? You also just said the students in Israel, the campus in Israel would not allow Palestinians to join. Are you confused, or do you know nothing about the country of Israel? Because let me remind you, Jews are not allowed in the West Bank and Gaza. However, Arabs have full Israeli citizenship, have the rights, are members of the Knesset, which is the equivalence of, you can think of Congress, and even prosecuted a former Prime Minister, Ehud Olmert, an Arab judge. So what apartheid exactly are you speaking about? What genocide? What ethnic cleansing? And secondly, how dare you? How dare you say it's okay to talk about an intifada? Let me remind you, the intifada, last time it happened in Israel, consisted of thousands of people dying in bus bombings. So are you saying that you support terrorism and killing innocent people?
Well, intifada simply just means revolution, and I'm an American, and in 1776,
violent
we did
revolution.
one of those, and it was pretty fucking good. Yeah. What do you think? The American?
Okay,
do you think the American Revolution was a tickle party? Of course not.
We also bombed Hiroshima.
Don't. Yeah, I know, and that was also unjust and unimaginably cruel. But of course, the Israel Defender is also defending nuking civilians and killing them by the hundreds of thousands. Now listen,
so when it fits your
let's get
narrative,
back.
it's justified. But when it goes
let's
against
refocus
it,
the
it's
conversation
unjust.
to the points that you made. Let's
what?
refocus the conversation to the point that you made.
Okay, look,
you said,
just to
what are you
remind
talking
everybody,
about?
I'm actually moderating this, but that's an interesting point that Emily just raised, Hassan. It does seem that you're very selective about the violence that you support. That when you support
Indeed.
it, it's justified. When other people use things in a violent way that you don't support, it's unjustified. Seems like it's all skewed to what Hassan Piker thinks.
Well, not necessarily just what I think. I think that there are obvious markers, obvious boundaries. I don't think violence against civilians is justified. I have talked about October 7 on this very same show, saying that it was a tragedy. It was atrocities that occurred on October 7 specifically. When you target civilians in any capacity, I think that that is unacceptable. However, this does not mean that violence will not occur in many circumstances. Violence has occurred in every single revolutionary action, many good revolutionary actions. Obviously, America bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki with an atom bomb, that was not a very
Was what
good
Hamas did on
moment
October
for
the 7th
anybody. It was not a very good moment for human civilization at all.
Was what Hamas did on
But that's
October the
not the
7th?
point.
Was what Hamas did on October the 7th an example of what you would call a justified revolution?
I don't look at every single act of violence. I look at
You've
the
literally
players,
just been
I look
reciting
at
a whole
the
load of
systems
them.
of oppression
Why
when
are
we
you
are
avoiding-
analyzing it.
why
And
are you
do it too,
avoiding
Piers.
October the 7th?
You do it too.
No, I don't.
I'm not avoiding it. I've talked about it a
Okay.
million times
Well, let
over.
me-
What's that called? What is it? Moving the goalposts? It's a logical fallacy. What Hassan did. Oh, you do it too. Therefore, I'm allowed.
Let me ask you
I'd
one
like
more
to
time.
just
Hang
say-
on,
This
hang
is
on.
not what we're here to discuss.
Emily, hang on.
This is not what we're here to
Hassan,
discuss.
let me
She
just ask
said
you. Let me
very
just ask you
specifically,
directly
Israel's
one more
not an
time.
apartheid state.
Let me ask you one more time. Do you believe what happened on October the 7th was a justified act of revolution? Yes or no?
I do not, and I do think that. Oh, wait, hold on. That's let me clarify. Let me clarify something very important here. Events that unfolded on October 7 were atrocities. That much is clear. Those atrocities could have been avoided if Israel was not an apartheid regime. Israel has been an apartheid
Okay, can you
regime for
answer how
75
Israel's an
years.
apartheid regime?
In the
Because you
early,
keep repeating
no,
that.
you can't
You keep
just
repeating
chime in.
that.
You can't just
Back
chime in.
it
You
with
ask me a question.
evidence.
You want it.
Why
you ask
is
me a question.
Israel an apartheid
I'm going to give you an
regime?
answer.
Because you're repeating
Israel
these
has been an
lies.
apartheid
Go
regime
ahead,
since
please.
its inception. Until
How so?
Until 1967, Israel was an apartheid regime for the Palestinian citizens of Israel, the Arabs, as you called them. There was a two-tier criminal justice system. They were subjected to the military court processes and not the civil court processes until 1967. After 1967, they got citizenship. There are obviously still many different social issues that pertain to the Palestinian citizens of Israel, the Arabs that are living in Israel, those who are not Jewish, of course. However, Israel currently is occupying the West Bank. There are more than 2 million Palestinians that live in the West Bank. Israel's illegally occupying the West Bank. There are checkpoints. There are license plates that restrict Palestinian travel. The Israeli operations in the West Bank have destroyed Palestinian statehood. Now, of course, all of this is readily available for those who want to learn about it, yourself included. I hope you look it up. B'Tselem is an Israeli human rights organization which declared Israel to be an apartheid regime in 2021, in the April of 2021. Amnesty International declared Israel to be an apartheid regime.
Let me. Okay,
and
before
so
I
did-
move. Okay,
and
before.
so
Hang
did
on.
the
Hang
Human
on.
Rights Watch.
Hang on. Hang on. Before I just want to bring in our two British panelists here, but just finally, just to clarify, Hassan, I can't quite work out whether you said you do think October the 7th was an unjustified act of revolution or whether you changed your mind. So can you clarify?
I think that violent means of maintaining an apartheid is inevitably going to yield violent retaliation.
So
this
was it
is
justified?
something that is completely avoidable.
Was it justified?
Civilian deaths are never justified.
You know what, Hassan?
Hang on,
my
Emily.
point.
You look,
Hang on, Emily.
You look Hirsch
Emily, let me.
Goldberg Poland's mother in the eyes. No, you look this person's mother in the eyes, and you tell him that this was
my
justified.
Lord.
You tell him his arm being blown off and being held in captivity.
You cannot make this crap up. This is like reality TV, man. Literally like reality TV.
For 200
I
days,
do,
Lord,
I do
Lord.
love that
because in
the
your
Israel
false
defender
narrative,
has no
you think
capacity
that
to
Gaza
fucking hear
belongs
anything
to
I'm
the
saying.
Palestinians who are
What are you
made of
talking
identity.
about?
By the way, one case cannot be generalized to the population. That's also a logical fallacy. So you're a disaster. Sorry.
It just if you're not going to respect me
You
and
think
listen
that
to what
we're
I have to
occupying
say,
the West
which, by
Bank?
the way,
You
of course
think
you
we've
don't
occupied
respect.
Gaza?
Oh, if you talk
Look what
over each other,
happened.
nobody
I'll
can
just
hear
keep
you.
speaking
I just
What do you
over
mean
you.
I
That's what
think?
you
It's
do.
not
I just
I
wanna
think.
give
It's not I
Hassan-
think. It's the entire
Hassan,
world knows.
No, it is you
okay?
think.
It's the
You're
entire
only
world
thinking that
Emily,
from
please.
your narrative.
Let me handle this, Emily. Hassan, just before I come to the two people who are with me here, I just need some clarity here because it seems like you're dancing around whether you think October the 7th was justified
why are
or
we
not.
doing this? Why are we doing this back and forth masturbation? I've already given you my
Pierce,
fucking
why are you
position.
doing
It's
this?
fucking tired of repeating it over and over again.
Okay, I
Because
just
it's
have
Jews,
this.
it's okay.
Emily,
This
stop
demon next to
talking.
me
It's
wearing
Emily,
a fucking
I'll come back
IDF
to you.
dog
Only
tag.
when it's Jews, it's okay.
Please
We're not
stop
doing
shouting
that.
at each
demon next
other.
to me wearing an IDF dog tag if she actually thinks Israel's
No,
actions are
bring them
justifiable.
home.
Do you
It's
see
to
me
bring the
rocking the
hostages
fucking
home. The hostages
All
that
right,
you
you're talking
rightly
over each
believe
other.
It
belong
doesn't
in
matter.
the
All right.
You know what
tunnels
it
of
is.
God.
More. Oh my lord. So much propaganda, man. So much. And Hassan just went crazy, started swearing and all that.
Gaza.
I'm going to
know
give you
why-
two.
Very professional.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you
Bring
two
them
calm
home.
down.
It's
It's
not
pointless.
IDF
We
tag.
cannot hear you when you talk over each other.
Troll people.
Every time recently, I have someone
Okay.
from both
I'm
sides
wearing
on,
this
like
to
it goes
troll
like
people.
this.
I'm wearing this rusty necklace.
Please,
because
can you
there are
listen to me,
200 Israeli
Emily?
civilians
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Gaza
yeah.
right now.
Can you
as
stop
hostages.
doing this to each
Hey,
other, please?
Emily,
Nobody
Emily,
can
Emily,
understand a
can you
word
condemn the
either of
actions
you are
of
saying.
Israel?
Now let me come to Esther and James here. This is one of my problems.
No, I want to
actually.
hear if Emily condemns
No,
the
no,
actions of
Hassan,
Israel.
you
Why
will
don't you ask
please
her
let me
about that?
moderate the debate.
Why don't you ask her about
I don't condemn
30,000
the idea.
people
I've got
killed?
two
I
panelists
condemn
here
the
who've not
fact
had
that
a
on
word
October
yet.
Exactly,
7th,
'cause you're a
they
fucking
kidnapped
terrorist.
Please stop
civilians from their
talking.
homes.
Oh!
And I think you're a terrorist.
Yo!
And I think you're a terrorist as well.
Savage.
Okay, well, I'm not the one wearing.
Because
I'm
until
not
the
one
hostages
wearing
are home,
Oh my lord.
don't expect the war to be over.
insignia.
Just look at the British panelists.
Yeah, I know.
Bring
you don't
them
care about the
home.
hostages. If you
I
cared
love
about
how
the
you're
hostages,
condemning
you would
me.
be
You are
screaming at
exposing
Benjamin
your
Netanyahu.
own terrorism
Benjamin
on live
Netanyahu
television.
is the hostage
you
killer.
are exposing. You know.
Benjamin
excuse
Netanyahu
me,
has
you
killed
should
more
condemn
hostages
Hamas.
than
What do
Hamas
I
You need
have
to
to
be
think you're
condemning
achieving
Hamas
here?
for
Talking about.
not only oppressing the Palestinian people, but for spreading terrorism. I don't see your outrage at Hamas. Israel gave Gaza
All right,
back
listen,
in 2005,
I would like to, please.
and Hamas has
Please.
turned it into a
I think
terrorist
Hamas is the
haven.
lesser-
Great debate. Just shouting over each other.
Emily and
building a
Hassan,
Hamas
can you
is the
please show
lesser
some
evil.
courtesy
Hamas
to
is
the other
the lesser
panelists?
evil in comparison to Israel.
Can you please stop talking, both of you, and
You
let the
hear me?
other two panelists have a
Want a
say?
soundbite, Pierce? I'll give
Give
you a
them some
soundbite.
courtesy, please.
School children.
Some courtesy for your co-panelists here. Now, Esther, this is one of the problems I have with this whole debate, is that increasingly it just descends into a screaming match between pro-Palestinians and pro-Israelis.
And the biggest losers are the
She has
victims
no
of this
respect.
war. 33,000 dead Palestinians, over 1,500 dead Israelis. These are the biggest victims of this because you're shouting at each other and nothing is getting, like, you're completely, forget having no courtesy for us. You're completely disrespecting actual victims of this conflict, which, by the way, didn't happen in a vacuum. And I think that's the most important thing to say about this. None of this happened in a vacuum. Of course, October the 7th was an atrocity and it was completely unjustified. There was no justification for butchering people in the way that they did. But it didn't happen in a vacuum. A lot of the people that live in Gaza weren't even born at the time that Hamas came in power. So I really just, I despise this, you're a terrorist sympathizer, you're a genocide supporter, all of this, when really the people that we should be talking about deserve better.
Okay, James, on the wider point of these protests...
Well, I couldn't get to that part because I wanted to describe what the apartheid is, and
Okay.
Emily cut in immediately to chirp about some random shit.
Okay, you were both abusing each other. It was very unedifying.
It was very
let
clear.
me ask James. James, on the protests...
dude.
On the protests, look, I believe in the right to protest. That's an absolute bedrock of any democracy. But I don't believe in the right to support terror groups publicly or to chant about support for Hamas or to chant about intifada, which is a violent uprising. Where's the line for you with these?
I agree. I think we have to condemn what Hamas did, and I don't think the words that have been used so far have been strong enough. I mean, it was the worst thing we've seen in a very long time. It was disgusting, appalling, awful for everyone involved. I also have a lot of sympathy, if not, I can't think of a bigger word, for the people of Gaza. It's awful, and I will agree with you. I do want a free Palestine, and I also want a free and successful Israel, but I don't want innocent people murdered. So yeah, you can't go to a protest and start shouting about support for Hamas. That's insane.
Isn't it ironic that something like this has become a haven for like the mentally unwell. You're talking about something as serious as a conflict in Israel and Gaza, and for some reason you have really uneducated people that are clearly 20 years ago would have been in an asylum supporting this openly, not even knowing the conflict, not even knowing the context of what they're supporting, and for some reason we even give it airtime. That's what upsets me. These people don't deserve airtime.
Right? Everyone is so triggered on both sides, on all sides, and rightly so, because a lot of terrible stuff has happened. So that's where the emotion is coming from. But really, I think we all want the same thing, and that is for innocent people to not be murdered or slain in the streets.
Right. I mean, look, Hassan. Hang on, Emily. Please, I'll come to you. Let me just ask Hassan. When you and Emily go at each other like you just did, nobody wins. I mean, no one can really understand a word you're saying because you're shouting over each other. You end up just calling each other terrorists. There's no sensible dialogue here. There's no constructive conversation. It's just two implacably opposed sides abusing each other. Do you understand that?
Yeah, listen, Piers, okay? This is going to always be a very heated discussion, okay? Having a conversation about how heated this discussion is utterly unproductive. Every single moment that we use on air, not talking about every single university building being desecrated, destroyed. The fact that we're having this conversation on the eve of hundreds of mass graves being unearthed right now in many different parts of Gaza around hospitals that Israel had laid siege to is disgusting. I agree. I came on here, as I have done last time as well, and as I will probably do in the future as well, with one simple goal in mind, which is to address all of the misinformation that surrounds stuff like this. As far as the crackhead Barbie thing goes, yeah, she's a random TikTok influencer who gives a shit about what she has to say. She's obviously doing it for clout. But the students over at Columbia, okay, the students that I have talked to at the Columbia University Apartheid Divest group, the students that I've talked to from Jewish Voice for Peace.
All right, Emily, let me just ask you the same thing I asked Hassan. When you guys scream at each other and call each other terrorists, it doesn't obviously achieve anything other than it becomes unintelligible to the audience. You know, is there not a better way we can have this conversation?
Funnily enough, correct. And funnily enough, I have the same exact answer as Hassan. My job here is to make sure that I'm debunking false narratives that Hassan is clearly spewing. My job here is to call out hypocrisy. And I just saw another one where he's saying that crackhead Barney, whoever the hell that girl was, is a lunatic, but Aaron Bushnell, who lights himself on fire, is a hero. You can't pick and choose whatever fits your narrative. And I keep on repeating that over and over again because the Palestinian movement will literally just take what they can get, spew all of the truth into their false narrative, spread misinformation, and then you say that we're the liars. You tell me I'm wearing an IDF dog tag. I'm wearing a bring them home for the hostages that you... No, it says bring them home.
You're using the hostages as a simple political...
It's called a dog whistle, by the way, guys, if you're not familiar with what that is. It's like something that is signaling or is a stand-in for something else. By the way, by her expression, you can tell it's just a mask. There is no human being there. It's just a mask.
Tool to make propaganda in the West is quite disgusting. The protests that are happening in Israel right now are massive.
Are a political tool?
And those protests,
what?
You are using humans in captivity as a political tool. It's so obvious.
Why, Hassan? Why are you dehumanizing the hostages? Because I have no problem admitting the Palestinians deserve better.
Not.
I feel terrible.
You're using them as a political pawn.
I can say that.
If you cared about the hostages, you would be in Tel Aviv right now alongside.
Let me bring in James. Let me bring in James, please.
I'm sorry that I can't.
Please, let me bring in James.
I agree with both of you.
Sorry, can you please, when I say stop talking, please stop talking. We've got 4 people here. James.
If anyone is using
Lord.
hostages, surely it's Hamas, Hassan. How can you say that? How can you use that argument? That's a crazy thing to say. It's Hamas that have taken these people from their homes,
tens of thousands of people in Israel. There are currently tens of thousands of Israeli citizens right now in the streets of Israel, in the streets of Tel Aviv, outside of Benjamin Netanyahu's house, protesting every single day. What are they protesting? They're protesting for Benjamin Netanyahu to facilitate a ceasefire with Hamas so that they can actually bring the hostages home. That is precisely the number one goal of the family members of the hostages.
Who
and
is
if
using
anyone
the hostages?
on this panel was
No,
being
answer
even a
that
little bit
question.
honest,
You've
they would
changed.
recognize
You're
the
not listening to
reality
my
that,
question.
listen, just listen.
You didn't listen to my question.
Listen to what I'm saying, and you will understand perhaps what I'm trying to
That's
imply
very
here.
patronizing.
Utilizing
Indeed.
the hostages. Yeah, I am being patronizing. I don't know who the fuck you are, and you're over here chirping all the way from fucking London about Palestine and doing a both sides are fucking fine type bullshit where you're talking about how you want to fucking free Palestine, but also simultaneously, both sides got a lot going on. Shut the fuck up. You don't know anything, okay? I don't give a shit about what your perspective is.
I agree. Hassan doesn't
with quite
like
a lot
what
of
you
the
have
things
to
you're
say,
saying,
so
Hassan.
you're wrong. It's Hassan's way or the highway.
I mean, you
Wow,
are.
really
There is no
clever
both
you
sides
are.
on a genocide.
Nice
Is there
side,
both
woman,
sides on a
okay.
genocide? There is no both sides.
Well, the thing is, it's
there-
interesting you
there
should
is-
mention the
Really?
hostages.
There
What
is
is
no
in the
both
Hamas
sides
charter?
and
They want
apartheid.
a Jewish genocide, but that's okay. But a
the
Jewish
thing
genocide is okay.
if you're talking about the well-being of the if you're talking about the well-being of the hostages, what sense did it make for the IDF to flatten about 70% of Gaza? Because I completely agree. Bring the hostages home. If you look at Gaza, the topography of Gaza right now, it looks like a pancake. So I'm sorry, this whole argument of Hamas using Hamas unity, fine, but the IDF has also been using it to continue that campaign. If you were told that, if God forbid, if your relative was one of the hostages and you saw what's happening right now, and I met someone whose mother is a hostage, and he said he didn't want his mother and her being taken to be used in the name of violence. Right now, he's sitting at home wondering, okay, what is the logic of trying to bring my mother home when you flattened Gaza? Please explain that to us.
So, can I
Because
pose
you might very well pull those hostages from under.
Okay, let Emily respond to that.
Everyone wants to criticize the IDF's response, but nobody wants to tell me what should Israel be doing to retaliate October 7th, eradicate Hamas from preventing another October 7th, and bring the hostages home.
I have an idea.
Do you have a solution?
I have an idea. Do not flatten Gaza and potentially pull your own hostages up from under the rubble, like have been done with thousands of Palestinians. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Have you found any
So
of them
you're
under the
saying
rubble?
that you don't have an answer.
That is the answer. Don't kill your own
answer.
hostages.
But you're quick
That's
to
an
condemn the
answer.
IDF,
How
but
does
you
that
don't have
sound?
an answer.
I also
How
have
about
an
not killing the
answer.
hostages?
Very interesting.
I have an answer.
Thank you
Okay.
for proving my point.
It's called the
Yes,
dissolution
Hassan.
of the apartheid regime. That's what it's called. Dissolve the apartheid
So
regime.
what would you like to
allow
see happen,
Palestinians
Hassan?
breathing room. Do you not understand the English language?
We're
Dissolve
delayed.
the
It's delayed.
apartheid regime.
You need a Xanax, first of all. You need a Xanax. Okay, so should Israel do
Yeah,
to
I'm
the
sorry,
West Bank
30,000
what they did to
Palestinians-
Gaza?
This girl's queen of ad hominem attacks. Very skilled, very pro, very expert.
Ruthlessly slaughtered by the
Should
Israeli
Israel
state.
give
It makes
back
me a
the
little
land so
upset
that it can
when
turn
someone is
into another
defending that.
Gaza? Is that what you'd like to see? Another terrorist haven launching rockets all day instead of turning it to Singapore? Because that's what they did in 2005.
Wait, hold on. What is
works.
Singapore?
The
The West
billions of
Bank.
dollars in
Hold on,
aid
is
they
the
turned
West
into
Bank
building
Singapore?
tunnels. Is that what you'd
Wait,
like
wait,
to
wait,
see?
wait.
bombing-
I don't know.
who's
Have I
bombing
gone
Singapore
deaf?
every day?
Sorry,
What,
Emily,
is
is the
Singapore
West
an
Bank
open-air
supposed to be
prison?
Singapore?
What are you talking about?
Is the West Bank supposed to
The
be
West
Singapore?
Bank has a port. They can import and export.
Oh, my
Israel gave them a
Lord.
great piece of land. They received billions of
Disaster.
dollars in aid, not only
Israel
from the U.S.
Disaster.
A great
But
piece of
Israel
land?
gave. Are you
No.
mad? They had a
Girls.
chance to rebuild, but they spent the last 15 plus years crying
Oh, wow.
that they don't have
Okay.
enough
The
land
West Bank
because there
is
is never
Singapore.
enough land for them instead of rebuilding. But that's okay. Build terrorist tunnels. Don't build hotels and don't rebuild
Israel
civilization.
has
Just build
not
terrorist
allowed
tunnels to keep hostages
Palestinians
in.
to have a nation state that they deserve by international law since the inception of the Israeli nation state. What you are saying is insane to me. The fact that you brought up the last 15 years as Palestinians crying is disgusting.
Oh, I have
okay?
one more question.
You are a disgusting little monster.
One more question.
who thinks
One more question.
That not offering contiguity to the Palestinians in the form of a state, which is under international law, is just simply
Wait, I have
Palestinians
one
crying.
question.
Okay?
This West
Palestinians
Bank
don't want a
Singapore.
two-state
Hold on.
solution.
This
they want
West
a
Bank
one-state
Singapore.
solution that eradicates the Israelis,
This girl's a clown.
which is not an option.
Fine. This West Bank
You're wrong.
Singapore, what place
You're wrong.
does the settlements play in that? How? Please paint a picture of how the West Bank of Singapore or whatever, Singapore of the West Bank. How does this illegal settlements fit into
Ma'am,
that?
I think you're completely missing the picture.
Just explain to me
Israel
how the
wanted
settlements
give
fit into
them
that picture.
a piece of land I'm explaining it.
Okay, I'm listening.
The picture is they got a great piece of land to turn into society. Instead of turning it
got
into
the land?
My
civilized
Lord.
society,
Who did?
Israel gave the land to Gaza. They
So then why the
they
Israeli
removed
settlers?
Israelis
It's not Israel's
from
land
their
to give.
homes.
But
It's
then
not
why
Israel's
the
land to
Israeli
give.
settlers
It is
then?
not Israel's land to
2005.
give.
There are no Jews or Israelis. There are no settlements in Gaza.
In the West
they
Bank.
gave it to
in the West
the
Bank.
Palestinians.
They're not in the West Bank.
I'm speaking about Gaza, and
Oh,
now
I'm
you're
asking
changing
about
the
West
narrative.
Bank because I was interested
I'm
in knowing about
showing
Singapore.
I'm telling you that if Israel
Palestinians-
pulls out completely from the West Bank, if Israel pulls out from the West
This is like an abusive relationship.
Bank, you can bet your ass it turns into the next Gaza. The world does not need two Gazas because one Gaza has already caused enough damage. If, however,
Yes.
Gaza decides to demand
Every
that
argument with
Hamas
Israel
removes
is
themselves
about
from
some
power,
hypothetical.
and they
It's-
can have democracy,
Israel has to do a
then yes,
genocide
there's
because if
potential
Israel
for
doesn't do a
two-state
genocide,
solution.
then the Gaza
There's
It
no
sounds a bit
genocide.
like
The
you're
only
victim
genocide
blaming
is the
Palestinians
Hamas
in
charter that
Gaza.
you
wants to
cannot
eradicate
do
the Jews.
defensive genocide.
You know, it's interesting the word genocide
There is no
because
genocide.
hang on, it's
There is
interesting
no
the word. It's
genocide
interesting. Hang
happening.
on,
It's just a
Israel is
buzzword.
doing
I would love to get a
Genocide.
word in,
Stop
please.
Talking, please.
Interesting the word genocide because I've listened to all this fractious debate, everyone talking over each other. The truth is that actually only one side is publicly said that they wish to pursue a genocide, and that is Hamas. Hamas, after October the 7th, through their official spokesman on camera, said they wanted to do it again and again and again. That is the purest articulation of a genocide imaginable. And the one thing I never hear from the pro-Palestinian side
You
is
really think-
what Israel was
Piers,
actually...
Piers,
Hang on.
Piers,
No, don't
Piers.
interrupt me.
So one
I haven't
Hamas
asked you a
official-
question yet.
One Hamas guy.
My Lord, it's crazy.
Sorry, I
But
need to
that's
ask you a
ridiculous.
question.
You're being a ridiculous person.
I'm not
You're being a
ridiculous
ridiculous person.
I'm just saying, nobody ever
Because
tells
how
me...
many Israeli officials, even on your show, have said we should keep doing what we have been doing to Gaza over and over again? How does that not register in the same genocidal intent? If you think what that dude was saying, which was, by the way, ridiculous what he was saying, the Hamas official was saying, is that we're going to do October 7th over and over again.
But he said it.
We are justified in doing it over and over again. Yes, I find that to be abhorrent. However, what you fail to recognize is that's the genocidal intent, but not Amalek. That's the genocidal intent, but not saying we are fighting human animals. And that's why we have to cut off their food, their water, and their electricity. That was Defense Minister Yoav Gallant
There we
who said
go with
that.
the lies
Benjamin
again.
Netanyahu
You're saying
has
Israel
routinely
cuts
talked
off their
about this over and over
electricity.
again.
They don't
Israeli
even provide
interior
their
security-
electricity.
Israeli,
You're saying they cut off their water. They don't cut off their water. You are spewing lies on national television.
Can you? I'm
I
talking about
think so. Hang on.
It's not about you.
Again, you're talking over each other. Some of the comments.
Army that
There's no doubt,
provides aid to
Emily.
people they're at war with.
Some of the
Only
comments.
Israel.
She just keeps talking.
Some of the
Israel is
No, Piers, I'm not letting him
the
spew
most
misinformation.
caring
I'm not
country
letting
on
him
the
It's
fucking
pointless.
planet. I
Blatant
swear to
lies.
God.
This is pointless.
When you see Piers say this is pointless. Oh, comedy. Lordy Lord. Freaking disaster. Alright, yeah. Let me know what you think in the comments. Wow. Big mess. Big mess. Okay, hit the like, the sub, hit all the notifications, drop me a donation, like Hunter M, Adrian, Tom, and Bobby, Dylan, Renaissance Press, Brian, Andrew, and Alan. Shout out to you, most recent purchase of Strategist Guide to Seduction. Thank you. You can buy my books at bit.ly/heliosbooks. Want to see my videos ahead of time? Cool. Just go to my Patreon. That's patreon.com/theheliosblog. And if you'd like me to give better advice than whatever this disaster was, just message me at my email. It's theheliosblog@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening, guys, especially if you listen to the end. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.